an IP address from Apipa range. Okay. So that is Apipa address. It is lead to troubleshooting. The first today we will discuss about DNS, that is in the servers, that is the leftover part. So we'll discuss about a few points about a DNS, and then we will discuss Outlook. Okay. So we'll see how much time we have and how much we can able to discuss. What is DNS? DNS itself a protocol. So domain name system. Port number is 53. Port number is 53. Domain name system. Port number is 53. But there is a DNS server. DNS is a protocol. The protocol means it will define what type of communication it is. So there is a DNS server. What is the work of this DNS server? When you are trying to communicate in the network, you is supposed to be communicate with the IP addresses. Okay. For example, I have to communicate my next device, so I have to ping with an IP address. I have a remote web server, so I have to communicate with the IP address. Remember this point, guys. Always, all communications are by IP addresses only. You cannot communicate to any device directly with the MAC address or with the names also. But we are open. See, the websites are so many communications. Even just we are more familiar with the websites only. Okay. So if you see, it's I open with a name only because I don't know the Java T point IP address. I don't know the google.com. See, docs.google.com. I don't know this IP address, this server's IP address. I don't know this web.whatsapp.com. I don't know that site IP address. So I started communicating with the names. But the rule is you should communicate with an IP address. So what happened? So when you are open with a name, okay, when you're trying to communicate with a name, your system send a request to the DNS server. The DNS server take your request. What is your request? I want IP address of www.java.t point. I want IP address of www.java.t point.com. So you want an IP address. Okay. www.java.t point. So you're requesting a DNS server for that one. What this DNS server? It search and find an IP address of your www.java.t point.com. For example, I try to find it. So go to the command prompt and ping www.java.t. You know, in our earlier browsers, when I open any website, in the bottom, it shows that remote servers IP address here. Okay. So here it is for just for understanding. I'm pinging to the server name called www.java.t.point.com. So first of all, it find the IP address. First, it find an IP address. Find an IP address of java.t.point.com. This DNS server will give this IP address of java.t.point.com to the our server. Now my system knows what is an IP address of www.java.t.point.com. So it will send request for a web page to the java.t.point.com with that IP address. With that IP address, send an HTTP request or HTTPS request to this with this IP address to the Java to the server. Okay, so this is what happens in generally with the server. So what is the DNS server? This DNS server contains the records of devices or a host under a domain and their IP addresses. It contains records of devices or services, okay, which is map of device name in the domain to the IP address. Simply words, what is a DNS server? Inside a DNS server, DNS maps name to IP address or resolve name to IP address. You know the name and you want an IP address, you ask a DNS server, it returns the IP address of the host. Okay, you can add this additional point also like this, map name to IP address. If user you try communicate with name of host or servers, whatever it is, name of the host, and you do not know IP address of the host. The system means your system only. Your system send a request to the DNS server to get IP address of that host. Then DNS server returns the IP address of the host. When you're trying to communicate with the name of the host, means a remote server, okay, with under a domain, and you do not know the IP address of the server. Okay, you don't know the IP address, so then you are trying to communicate with the name, right? So what your system will do it send a request to the DNS server to get an IP address of that host. This is the point. What is this point? It is system send request to the DNS server to get an IP address of that particular host. Then your DNS server will return the IP address of it in the simple words. Okay, guys, understand what is the DNS server means? Guys, understand what is the DNS server will do it?
Yes, sir.
Same thing, I given an explanation here with the www.google.com. www.google.com is a remote web server it is. So remote server it is. So I open the browser, I type www.google.com. But you need an IP address of www.com or PC send a request to the DNS server, ask an IP address of www.com. The DNS server returns an IP address of www.google.com So now we know we can reach to this www.google.com server with an IP address. Okay, with an IP address. Okay, it is a simple words, guys. I'm trying to do a simple words. What is a DNS server? You can tell one or two way answer. One is the DNS server contains the records of the devices and their IP address. Devices, host, okay, under a domain, and it mapped to an IP address. Okay, that is one thing. Another way is the function of DNS server. What is a DNS server will do? It returns an IP address of that particular host, a server, or maybe a device IP address returned to you. You don't know the IP address, you ask a DNS server, DNS returns. So this point also you can able to add it. Okay, like this. That is, the system send a request to the DNS server to get an IP address of the host. Okay, with a name. Okay, with a name you are sending request. You know the name, but you don't know the IP address. So who will give the IP address of that host is DNS server. DNS server return the IP address of the host. Okay, host or a device in the domain within the like a language. So I will explain what is this in domain. In domain I've written, right? So I will explain that one. Okay, guys, here it is. Simple explanation with a mobile phone contact list. You know, some interviews people ask, explain DNS because as a fresher, you don't know real DNS servers look like. So then people will ask, explain DNS server in terms of mobile phone contact list. So this is an example is also help you to understand what is this DNS server. You have a, nowadays, the people, what they are doing, it is like we cannot remember all the phone numbers. Earlier we remember at least 4 or 5 phone numbers. Now we are not. So what we are doing generally, like I know the well-known uh, contacts are there. For example, my father, mother, my sister, like this. I have a 4 or 5 numbers. Some very old numbers still I can able to remember, including my phone number itself. I have 2 phone numbers. One number is well known. Other number is I forget that is. I have to search for my second number. Like that. Okay. So what I'm doing is here. Okay. I'll create a contact list. In mobile phone, we create a contact list. In the contact list, what we'll do it? We'll put a name and we put a phone number. In a mobile phone, what we are doing is we put a name and we put a phone number. Now, for example, I have a phone numbers of you guys, for example. So there is a Pawanchand is there. Okay. For example, I want to call to Pawanchand from my mobile. In case if I have your mobile phone, I do not have, it's only in the group. For example, I store Pawanchand phone number. What I will do it? So I will open the contact list. Search for Pawanchand. Search for a Pawanchand. Open Pawanchand and see the phone number here under. So, right. So I will dial to the Pawanchand. It is showing on the screen. You are dialing to Pawanchand only. But original call is going with the phone number only, right? With the only Pawanchand name, I cannot able to communicate. So I need the phone number of Pawanchand. Otherwise, I can't able to make a call. The same way in a DNS also. You know the name, www.facebook.com. But only by knowing name, we can't communicate with the facebook.com. You must know the IP address of it. But you don't know the IP address. So to whom you have to ask? DNS server. So DNS server returns the IP address of www.facebook.com. Same way like in a mobile phone contact list, I have a name and phone number. I open the contact list, dial to the name, but actually call goes with the number only. So that is this point. Okay. So it is a comparison between a mobile phone contact list as an example for DNS servers and DNS records. The contact list contains name and phone number. When you call someone, you open the name and press the call button. But actually call goes to with a phone number only. Okay. Guys understand what it is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. I given with a simple example only. So simple explanation, that is when you are do not know the remote server's IP address, so you will ask a DNS server returns the IP address of it. Then you can able to communicate with the IP address. So this is what the DNS means. Okay. Just I'm trying to extend it, but it will take little bit time. See it is find a host and test. Guys, this is google.com. It's a domain. Google.com is domain, not website. Okay. So for example, you are establishing an organization, and your organization has so many servers, users, employees, right? Users means like employees, computers, all are in the same domain. Of course, first you have to purchase a domain name. First you have to purchase a domain name based on your organization name and types of organization. Okay, take a .com commercial. .com means commercial. .org organization. .net. Okay, so .in, .co like that. So you have to take a top level domain then based on your organization. So you purchase a domain. Inside this domain, so you have a different kind of service. For example, I have my own domain name like a so. mm, My name is Latif. I created this TechSolve dot. So this is my domain name. In this domain, I purchase this domain and I configure DNS. See, I have a something like within my domain, I have a Act2 directory server. Act2 directory server. I have a domain controller is there. So by installing ADDS and it become domain controller. So ADDS contains user information, group information, computers in the domain. So all information is there in this one. So this computer name is DC1. Okay. So this server name is DC1. You know the final name of this one DC1 dot. And still I put a big name. I have to type out. So this is the FQDN of this. This is a domain. Okay. This is a server. See, this is what I'm saying. DC1. The DC1 having an IP address. Okay. And for example, I have some web server is there. I have some web server. Web server name is Web1. Web server name is Web1. So the name is like a Web1 dot. This is my FQDN. Sometimes you see the www, you know. So www, google.com, www, facebook.com like this. Those are alias names. When publicly communicating, we use for a web pages, websites, we use this kind of alias names, aliasing. This is original name and this is a duplicate name. Okay. So for example, I have a mail server. I have a mail server in my domain. So it is my server, mail server. Mail server name is mail1, for example. Okay. The name is comes like mail1 dot tech Okay. Like this. So these are the server. Server means they have an IP address. And where is this map of IP address will be located? So they will maintain a DNS server. Okay. They will maintain a DNS server. For example, DNS server name is NS1. So this is my DNS server. This server contains a records. That's what I said. DNS server contains a record maps name to IP address. So how it is like this? So first is my domain name. Then it is DC1 and IP address. Web1 IP address. Okay. And Web1 has an alias name that is called www. So www alias to Web1. That is another record. Mail1 server IP address. Okay. So as I said, there is in a DNS server contains records of a different hosts or devices or servers under a domain. Okay. So www.google.com is not a domain. www.google.com is a server. Maybe name wise it is different. Google.com is a domain. And HTTP dot. So if you open this one, it will show https://www.google.com. What is this? This is URL. This is called a URL. It's not a domain, it is URL. Okay. It will indicates the protocol and address. Complete yours with the including slash pages also. Everything comes under one single line is URL. Universal Resource Locator. Google.com is a domain, www is a server. Maybe alias. Okay. So this is one small point that is related to the DNS server. Every organization maintain its their own name server for their communication. For example, I am a inside organization or outside of organization. I am a user, some user. I want to open the web page of this www.latif.tech. My request go to, finally I will reach this DNS server. I will ask IP address of www.latif.tech. And what is the actual server? Web1. Where is the Web1? This is the Web1. What is an IP address? This is an IP address. Now I got an IP address, then I will connect to this server directly. Okay. Process is always same, but little stepwise is different. Okay. Even if you see docs.google.com. If you open a mail, mail.google.com. Okay. If I open YouTube, it is so www.youtube.com. Main page. If I go to this studio.youtube.com. Okay. Studio.youtube.com. So things are like that. So it's a different points. Maybe if you open something from here, or it may shows in a different ways. Okay. The point it is, Guys, understand name, domain name, and host name. Okay. So when I ping www.google.com, see it is what happened. Here already I given that example. See it shows an IP address. First, it will find an IP address. Then it is trying to communicate with the IP address. Now I'm getting reply with a remote server IP address only. Okay. So this is how DNS is what is doing is. I told this FQDN. Here I have written DC1 dot Latif Texol, Web1 dot Latif Texol, Mail1 dot Latif Texol, DOCS dot Google.com, www dot Google.com, okay, classroom dot Google.com, okay. So like that. So you open anything from here, you can see mail.google.com. If you open Meet, so meet.google.com, meet.google.com. If you open news, news.google.com. If you open this classroom, classroom.google.com. Like that, guys, you are getting. So there are different servers under same name. So this complete name we call it as a FQDN, fully qualified domain name. This is called a fully qualified domain name. What is meant by fully qualified domain name? It is host name plus domain name called FQDN. I given an example is here. Contessor.com is a domain name, and I have a server under this domain called server 1. My FQDN is server1.contessor.com for that server. Okay. Understand, guys, up to here? So what is a DNS server? Mobile phone contact list example, ping example, and domain name and host in the domain name.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay, so here it is. There is a small explanation. So we have a time or not, we'll see. And but main point is what is a DNS? What is a DNS server will do? How it will resolving IP address, for example. So how it is getting. Next one is mobile phone content. These are the important. But I'm telling a small story that is actually I want to draw, but it is not drawing anything. No, not this one. Okay. So guys, as simple as said, so you open a website or you try to connect to a remote system with a name and you don't know the IP address, your DNS server will give. Of course, the story is correct, but where is the DNS server in your home? Your Wi-Fi router. Check it. Go to the IP address, IP config all, check who is your DNS server, and it shows your default gateway address only. It meaning is your Wi-Fi router is act like your local DNS server. Local DNS server. Okay. Of course, what I said that is correct only. But your Wi-Fi router or maybe any local DNS server, it does not contain all the records, right? We cannot store in a Wi-Fi router how many records you will store. Entire world domain records and their host under domain, the host records can we store in our Wi-Fi router? We can't store, right? So that's it is called a local DNS server. Okay. In the reality, what is happen? So we'll see it. Look at here, it is, I will take some orange color instead of red. Guys, this is my PC. In my PC, I type docs.microsoft.com. So actually, I will draw all this picture for every time, but we don't have to have much time to do that one. So that's why I'm using the picture. Okay. So I want an IP address of docs.microsoft.com. So I want to do some reading related to the Microsoft document. Okay. I want that related document learning. So what happened? Okay. So I closed just before now. It is gone. So I go to the devocs.microsoft.com or learn.microsoft.com. So what happened? I do not know other IP address, right? So what our system will do it? First, what is our system will do it? It search in the cache. It search inside your cache. So in the browser, you have a cache browser is there. Say, go to the history, go to the history, clean browsing history. So there you can find this in this caches cookies only. Your site, your what are the previously your access that this IP address. Maybe if I open earlier, that information is located here. The IP address information may be located here. Next one is it will search in this file, the etc host file. In a Linux, it is /etc/host file. In Windows, this is a host file. Locations are different. File name is same. So first it check within the system. Can you able to find an IP address? When internet is not working, people will tell you open the Google page and check it first. Why? Because we use Google more times. So then the Google www.google.com IP address is inside your cache memory. So it is easy to find from your system instead of getting from outside. If it is not find from here and here, then what happen? The request go to the local DNS server. The request go to the local DNS server. Okay. So first it go to the local DNS server and ask the local DNS server, I want an IP address of docs.microsoft.com. Of course, local DNS server does not contain any records. Really. Okay. So what is this local DNS server will do it? It forward this query to the forwarder. This server we call it as a forwarder. It is also a DNS server, but it is maintained by our ISP. It is forward the query to the forwarder. This forwarder contains root hints. This forwarder contains root hints. What is this root hints? In this entire world, there is a 13 root DNS servers are there. 13 root DNS servers are there in the global wide. So what happened here? All these 13 root DNS servers IP addresses in this root hints. What is meant by root hints? It is the global root DNS server's IP address. Root DNS server IP address. What is this root DNS servers will do it? What is the use of this root DNS server? Root DNS servers, all DNS servers contain same data and all 13 root DNS servers contains same data. What is the data? Top level domains related IP address. There is a .com DNS server, .org DNS server, .net server, .in server. Okay, top level domains server is there. For example, when you are registering a domain name, so that will give you suggestions. Okay. For example, I want to register the name in the okay, domain name. Yeah, I'll go to the first one, namecheap.com, GoDaddy, Big Rocks, like that you can go. So I type something like Latif, something I type it. Okay, it gives suggestions. auctions, handshaking kind of stuff. See, it is .com, .org, .boat, .net, .aa, because these are .boat, .aa. Now it has become more famous now, so AA related. .game, .xyz, .inc, .me, .io. IO is also now it is more famous. Shops, Pro, Online, Tech, Info, Live, okay, VIP, Beach, Art, Wiki. See, this is a lot of domain. These are a lot of top level domains. Earlier we have only few, now we have a lot of top level domains. What is these top level domains? For example, mine is latiftech.net. So in that under the .net server, latiftech.net, DNS server's IP address will be here. Okay, when I register a DNS, okay, when I register it, so that top level domain contains your name and mapped IP address will be located. So here it is. I use docs.microsoft.com. So your forwarder is looking for a .com server IP address. Forwarder looking for a .com server IP address in the root DNS server. So then once it is find a .com IP address, then DNS server will search Microsoft.com's IP address from .com server. Once it is find, then it go to the Microsoft.com. Under it, there is so many host records are there. So it will find which one I wanted, docs.microsoft.com server IP address. Now the forwarder find an IP address of docs.microsoft.com. The forwarder give it to our local DNS server, and local DNS server will give to our computer. Now our computer got an IP address, then it will communicate to the server with an IP address. This is the story, guys. I told only first this part. You don't know the IP address of, for example, you don't know the IP address of learn.microsoft.com or docs.google.com, www.google.com. So what happened? The request will automatically send to local DNS server. Local DNS server will return the IP address. This part I told. But outside of this local DNS server, what happened? In the internet, this big story will happen inside. Okay, that's the point, guys. Okay, so it is like it has to go like that only. Okay, maybe if it is IP address available in your cache memory, or maybe it is a static records like a host records contains an IP address of a remote system. So then it will find it from it. Otherwise, it will search in the internet, right? It will ask your local DNS server, then local DNS server to forwarder. Forwarder will do a iterative query. So first it will contact a root DNS server and try to find the top level domains related IP address. Then it will find our domain IP address and their DNS server address. Then go to that one and find our exact host record. Okay, it find a record and find the IP address of it and forward or take it and give it to your local DNS server to your system. Now you can able to communicate with an IP address. Okay, this much big story you don't need to tell, but this is the story which you can able to get it from anywhere. That's why I told this example, not example, this story. So which is how it is happening in a real time. But important factors are like this only. So what is a DNS server? What is a DNS server? What is the use of DNS server? What is the use of DNS server? The process of resolving an IP address and the comparison with the mobile phone contact list. Okay, that's enough. Okay. not more than that. Okay, guys.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Take a small break, 5 minutes, because we do not have more time on it. So that's why take only a 5 minutes break. Come back at 3:25. Come back at 3:25. I will discuss about Outlook. Okay? Just take a small break.